Hello, this is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your thorny spine. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's creepy, spooky, and sometimes outlandish array of tales. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. This story took place in 1990 in Laguna, Philippines. I was there to witness something deeply unsettling, a case of demonic possession. To protect the identities of those involved, I'll refer to them as Benjamin, Eric, and Granny. On a hot summer day, Benjamin, Eric, and their friends decided to have a barbecue at a lake. Everyone showed up, ready to enjoy the day. They spent time fishing, swimming, and sharing special moments with their loved ones. Benjamin was in charge of the barbecue, while Eric was swimming nearby in the small lake. Before leaving to head back to town for more drinks, Benjamin asked Eric to watch the meat on the grill. Eric got out of the water and grabbed his towel. As he did, he noticed a little girl standing in front of the barbecue grill. He assumed one of their friends had brought along a younger sister. Eric headed to the bathroom, but when he came back, the little girl had vanished. As he went to check on the meat, he noticed bite marks on all of the chicken. Angry, Eric assumed one of his friends had been taking bites and putting the pieces back on the grill. Later on, everyone ate and enjoyed their meal before heading home. While driving back, Eric brought up the little girl, asking Benjamin who had brought her along. Benjamin, confused, replied that he didn't see anyone bring a little girl. Only their girlfriends had been there. When they got home, Benjamin dropped off Eric at his house and went back to his own place. That night, Eric had a strange dream. He saw a creature lurking at the lake and watched as the little girl he had seen earlier transformed into a ghost with long, white hair. The next morning, Eric woke up and went to the kitchen. His grandma noticed a bite mark on his back shoulder and asked him about it. Eric, confused, said he had no idea how it got there. Concerned, Granny applied some medicine to the bite, but the moment she touched him, she felt a sharp pain in her own back. Alarmed, the grandma stopped and told Eric to help her to the sofa and call the parents. Later on, the family gathered to discuss the bite mark. Eric explained what he had seen the previous day at lake. His dad, realizing the seriousness of the situation, suspected that the creature had followed his son home. He prayed to God for protection, but soon they understood that the creature had possessed the grandma. That night, things took a terrifying turn. Granny began speaking in strange languages, chanting in bizarre forms. She screamed, cried, jumped around wildly, and even bit and scratched at the family members. In desperation, they tied her up and called for a priest. When the priest arrived to perform an exorcism, the struggle intensified. Granny, in her possessed state, became violent. At one point, she kicked the priest so hard that he fell to the ground, coughing from the impact. I was there, witnessing the possession, and I noticed something chilling. Granny's skin began to change color, and her eyes shifted unnaturally. My parents told me to go home, but I refused. I was mesmerized, unable to look away as the possession unfolded. At one point, the grandma told everyone that her stomach felt strange and asked them to lift up her shirt. When they did, we saw something horrifying, a handprint, as if pressed from the inside of her stomach. It sent chills through everyone present. Desperate for help, the family decided to call their neighbor, an albularia, which is someone who has knowledge in the mystical arts. She arrived, performed a ritual, and after a moment, instructed the family to take Grandma outside. The albularia explained that she needed to continue the ritual outside of the house to confront the spirit properly. The albularia held a gong in one hand, with a stack of burning incense sticks and a pan of hot oil in the other. She used the incense sticks to flick hot oil, causing flames and sparks to erupt around Grandma. A few times, Grandma's clothes even caught fire, but the family quickly put it out with water. The ritual continued for an hour, with tension building in the air. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Grandma woke up, free from the demonic possession. The albularia, exhausted but calm, gave one final instruction. Before Grandma could re-enter her home, she needed to pass under a rope of lemongrass with wooden knives hanging from it. This would ensure that no lingering spirits followed her back inside. Grandma lived well since, but in 2009, she passed away due to old age. What I find really strange is that Granny was the one possessed when she was not even there with them by the lake. I think Granny was a psychic or someone who is sensitive to the paranormal, which was why she was the one possessed. Let's do one more. My mother once told me a story from her village in Thailand about a neighbor's daughter named Prin. She was known throughout the village for her stunning beauty. Everyone admired her, and all the young men wanted to court her. Since the houses in the village were made of bamboo, my mother said you could often hear men talking to Prin late into the night. One night, my mother woke up to use the bathroom outside. There were no indoor bathrooms in Thailand at the time. As she stepped outside, she heard a commotion. A group of men was abducting a girl. Curious, my mother approached them and saw that it was Prin, the neighbor's daughter, being taken. Prin was crying, and one of the men was holding her hand, reassuring her.
Don't cry. I will marry and love you.
My mother thought to herself, oh, they've got a son-in-law now, and went back inside to sleep. The next morning, my parents were awakened by the sound of loud crying coming from the neighbor's house. My father told my mother to check on them, but my mother was unconcerned. She told him, don't worry, I saw a group of men take their daughter last night. Her mother is probably just upset because Prin got married. But when both neighbors began wailing, my father decided to check for himself. When he returned, he brought devastating news. Prin had passed away in her sleep. My mother was terrified and soon became ill. My father had to call a priestess to perform a healing ritual. The priests revealed that the group of men my mother saw kidnapping Prin weren't human at all. Because the village had constantly praised Prin's beauty, a spirit who was actually a dragon had come to take her as his bride. My mother wasn't supposed to witness the abduction, but because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, she had seen them, and one of the spirits had seen her too. A few days later, Prin's mother had a dream in which Prin and her husband came to visit. Prin's husband was incredibly handsome, dressed in a dazzling Thai traditional outfit adorned with silver coins. They had come to perform a wedding ceremony and to pay Prin's dowry. Before Prin left, she reassured her mother, telling her not to worry and saying she was happy. When Prin's mother awoke, she found a pile of leaves under her pillow. Now that is truly tragic. Prin was forcibly taken away from her home and married to a non-human creature. Who knows if the Prin that came back to see her mother was actually not her? And what's with the pile of leaves under the pillow? Don't tell me that was her dowry. I mean, come on, what will they do with that pile of leaves? They should have brought jewels, golf, and other treasures. What a cheapskate spirit. Hope you enjoyed our spooky and strange stories. Join us next time for more. Take care and boo-bye.